Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I profusely congratulate the head of the department, Subhash Garu, for designing such a wonderful program, which is the latest technology, Internet of Things, and this Internet of Things combined with other technologies such as artificial intelligence, big data, and so on, is really going to help the mankind uh, in ameliorating the hardships of the especially the rural people. Even the agricultural sector is going to benefit a lot from this one, and the household sector, industrial security, and productivity of the uh, farm sector can also be increased using this Internet of Things. Especially, I feel that in India, especially which is agrarian country, having almost 10 millions of farmers in India, uh, really gets benefited because of this Internet of Things, because it helps farmers as well as handicraft professionals, similarly industrialists a lot. And I wish that this uh, webinar will serve the purpose for which it is being organized. I wish the organizing committee all the best. And once again, um, I express my gratitude to both the resource persons who have given their consent to act as resource persons for this national webinar. Thank you, one and all. I express my thanks to the head of the Department of uh, Computer Science for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening to everyone. This is Dr. K. Srinivasarao, IKC coordinator and lecturer in commerce, government in Ravulapalam. It gives me an immense pleasure to me to introduce the resource person of this session, that is none other than Dr. S. Chandrasekhar, Assistant Professor of CSE at University College of Engineering, JNTU, Kakinada. Sir has completed his bachelor's degree, that is BTech, in electronics and computer engineering from Koneru Lakshmiya College of Engineering, Vijayawada. Sir completed his MTech CSC from Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore, Tamil Nadu. Sir has received his PhD in computer science and engineering from JNTU, Kakinada. Yeah. Sir has published 15 papers in various international journals in the area of Internet of Things, and Sir attended many conferences and workshops. Sir's research area includes wireless sensor networks, Internet of Things, machine learning. Sir has special interest in e-learning and online courses. Sir has an excellent skills in resolving the problems, and presently he is playing a key role as training and placement officer in JNTU Kakinada. Sir has given excellent talk on Internet of Things in various organizations. Now I would like to invite Dr. S. Chandrasekhar Garu to proceed his session in this webinar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. K. Srinivasarao Garu, for your beautiful words and very good introduction about me. So for saving the bandwidth, let me stop the camera with your permission. Ma'am, Subhashini madam, can you see this screen?
Yes,
Sir,
yes.
Sir, the screen is visible, sir.
Yes,
sir.
yes, ma'am. Thank you, madam. And thank you very much, sir. K. Srinivasarao garu. Good afternoon to all the participants, and I welcome you all for the today's session on Introduction to Internet of Things. Right. So as we all know that in today's technological world, we frequently hear this term called Internet of Things. In short, we call this as IoT. So frequently we are hearing this IoT term everywhere. And in today's session, I'm going to give a brief introduction of what this Internet of Things is. What this Internet of Things is, what actually it consists of, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this Internet of Things. And similarly, we'll touch and discuss most of the applications that are related to the Internet of Things. So coming to today's agenda, this is how I'm going to take the today's session. Initially, I will start my discussion with what an internet is and what the things are in the context of Internet of Things. And finally, I will give a very simple definition of what Internet of Things is. Later, I will go and discuss the concept of smart objects. How these smart objects are different from the normal objects. This everything I will discuss, and then I will go and discuss the concept of who is behind this Internet of Things, who is responsible for this Internet of Things. All these things I will discuss and later I'm going to discuss the growth of IoT, why this IoT has become so popular in recent years, or what is the history behind this IoT, who is responsible for this popularity of this Internet of Things. All these things I will discuss, and then I will go and with a detailed explanation of advantages of IoT as well as the disadvantages of IoT. And then I'll stop my session by discussing very important applications on IoT, right? And finally, we'll discuss where this Internet of Things can be applied, in which sectors or in which segments this Internet of Things can be applied, applications. All these things I'll discuss. And the final topic is we need to discuss whether an IoT is a boon to the present era, or is it a bane, or it is a curse, like that, right? So this is how my today's session is going to continue. So without any delay, let me jump into the first topic, that is Internet Things and IoT. So everybody knows about internet. If anybody asks you about internet, so if he's from a computer science field, then he'll simply say that an internet is nothing but network of networks. Yes, the definition is a perfect definition. It is nothing but a network of different networks. But an elaborate definition of internet is nothing but an internet is a global system of interconnected computer networks. So it's nothing but a network of computer devices, or not only the computers, but it can have many other devices that make use of a protocol which is called as TCP/IP protocol. And this TCP/IP protocol is used to link various devices which are located in various locations worldwide. So this is how the internet has been defined. Similarly, coming to the history, the internet is not a new technology or new paradigm. It has its birth taken in the year 1950s, right? Where the electronic computers has entered into the era in 1950s. The internet has also taken its wings. Coming to, in this juncture, I want to stress on the generations of internet. So the father of internet, who invented this internet, is nothing but the father of internet is Vint Cerf. He's a scientist. And let me have some discussion on the generations of this internet. As we all know that the communication technologies have different generations. We'll be hearing these terminologies like 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, all these things. These are nothing but the generations. So the 1G, first generation communications is on analog communications, and 2G is exclusively related to digital communications. Similarly, 3G is multimedia communications. And we are right now, we are in the era of 4G technology. You will be hearing this 4G technology, Jio 4G or Airtel 4G. They are going to provide us the 4G technology through mobiles. It is otherwise called as long-term evolution, right? So it is called as LTE technology also. The difference is that you are able to access the internet through your mobile by with very high speed. For example, if you take the 4G technology, which was introduced recently in India by Ambani family, it has a maximum uplink speed. Uplink means upload, right? Uplink speed of 500 Mbps, and it has a maximum download link speed of 1000 Mbps. But we cannot achieve that much speeds. But for the current scenario, from the current scenario, the 4G technology is providing us with a speed of 3 to 5 Mbps uplink and 5 to 10 Mbps downlink. Similarly, we have another generation which is coming in the near future, which is called as 5G technology. It is called as IMT. IMT stands for International Mobile Telecommunications. So right now it is not there in India, but China is having this, and China and some other well-developed countries are having this particular technology, which provides almost 100 times faster speed when compared to that of the 4G technology. Similarly, 6G is also there. China has recently announced that they are going to do a lot of research on this 6G technology also. As the communications are having different generations, these internet is also having different generations. Probably most of us are doesn't know about this internet generations. So let me have a clear idea and brief idea of this internet generations. So in the first generation, it started its wings from 1969, and from 1969 to 1995, the first generation of internet is called as Internet of Boffins. Boffins is nothing but an analogy to the scientists. So a lot of scientists has worked on this internet to bring the internet to the real world. They have done a lot of research work on this internet, and this 26 years, a lot of scientists has contributed to the internet technology. After that, from 1995 to 2000, that is almost 5 years of lifespan, it is second generation of internet, which is called as Internet of Geeks. Here the scientist has done their R&D section, and it has been released to the normal people, where the tech geeks are the coding geeks has come into existence, and they have done a lot of work on this internet from 1995 to 2000. And the third generation is from 2000 to 2007, which has a span of 7 years. It is called as Internet of Masses. Mass is nothing but a bulk, huge audience is called as a mass, right? So in this 7 years of span from 2000 to 2007, the internet has reached each and every corner of the world. It has reached the mass people. It has reached almost every common person can access this internet. That's why this generation is called as Internet of Masses. And the next generation, which is nothing but mobile internet, this has changed the world like anything. It's a big revolution in the internet terminology. It is from 2007 to 2011, right? So from 2007 to 2011, it is called as mobile internet, where the common people can access, they are able to access the internet from a palm-sized device, which is called as mobile. So it is called as the mobile internet. Really, it's a big revolution in the field of this internet. After that, from 2012 to beyond, right now also, the internet is called as the Internet of Things. Here comes the term called Internet of Things. So you have to remember the term 2012. While discussing the history of IoT, I will discuss when this IoT has been coined and when it has taken its flourishment. All these things I will discuss. But we should remember that 2012 is the year where the Internet of Things has started its flourishment, right? So this is all about a brief history of the Internet. The reason why I have stressed on this history of Internet is the Internet serves as the backbone for Internet of Things, right? So the name itself says that it is Internet of Things. That's the reason why the Internet is the backbone for the IoT field. That's the reason why I have stressed a brief introduction on the various generations of this Internet. And coming to the second point on this particular slide, which it is called thing, right? What are things in the context of IoT? A thing is nothing but a physical object or an entity. It can be a physical object like a water bottle, a spectacle, a shoe, a fan, a light. Everything can be taken as a physical object. And if you make that physical object, if you if you give an unique identifier to that physical objects, then we call it as a thing in the context of IoT, right? So it is very clear that a thing is nothing but a physical object where you will provide some unique identification for unique identification for that physical object, right? And coming to the third point, Internet of Things. We have discussed what an internet is. We have discussed what a thing is. Therefore, you combine those two things, Internet of Things. Therefore, any physical objects, any physical device are connected through the internet, then it is called as Internet of Things. In a simple term, we can say that things that are connected over the internet is called as Internet of Things, right? So these things can be, as I said, that these things can be any physical object. Any physical object in the real world you take, anything you can connect it to the internet. That is the best thing the Internet of Things provides to the human lives, right? So you connect any device like cell phone, vehicle, home appliances, wearables, sensors, actuators, and all these physical objects you connect to the internet. That gives the concept of Internet of Things. And the best thing with the Internet of Things is it provides the transformation. What is this transformation? Transformation means converting from one form to another form. So what this Internet of Things is doing is it transforms the normal objects into smart objects. What is this normal object and what is this smart object, right? So in the coming slide, I'm going to give a brief difference between what a normal object is and what a smart object is. And I will explain it with a very simple example, which we will come across in our daily life with a smartphone, right? So as I said that the IoT transforms the normal objects into smart objects. So what are smart objects? The smart objects are nothing but these objects should have these characteristics. So if you want to call an object, a physical object, as a smart object, then it should possess all these 5 properties or all these 5 characteristics. And remember that these 5 characteristics are not mandatory. Some of the characteristics may be optional thing also, right? So let us discuss all these 5 characteristics for a smart object. So the first the first characteristic is identifiability. So identifiability means, as I told, that whenever you connect a physical object to the internet, you have to provide a unique identification number. For example, if you take in the real world, a person can be identified by his name. Similarly, in a computer network, a computer can be identified in a network by using an IP address, right? Similarly, in the IoT environment, the smart object should be identifiable. That means it should have an IP address, right? Here comes the concept of another thing, which is called as, here I need to discuss the difference between IPv4 and IPv6. Right, as we discussed that IP is nothing but an internet protocol. We have 2 versions of this IP. One is IPv4 and another one is IPv6. Right. So the IPv4 does not meet the requirements of the Internet of Things. Why? Because Why? Because the Internet of Things is not a small network. It is a huge network which consists of a lot of devices which vary in size from very miniature size to medium size, and from medium size to large sized objects can also be included inside this IoT network. So you just remember that IoT is not a simple network. It is a complex and diversified network. So in such cases, there are a lot of devices that are present inside this network. So in order to make this particular devices that are present in the IoT network identifiable, every device should be given an IP address. So the present IP for which we are using for the normal internet is not useful, and it is not at all successful in the context of IoT. So the researchers has made another version of IP Internet Protocol, which is nothing but IPv6, which is a 128-bit addressing, where you can have 2 power 128 addresses, which is a huge number of address space. It can cater up to some decades. So whatever device you take, whatever physical living object you take, all the physical objects can be given addresses by making use of this IPv6. That is the power of IPv6. So in order to make a smart objects, you have to give an identifier. You have to give an IP address for that particular device, which is nothing but the identifiability characteristic. And coming to the second characteristic, it is computable, right? So it should have some processing capability. It should have some computational capability. So in order to have the computational capability, the device should have some processor type of thing, right? We know what a processor is. Even in our smartphones also, we are in the era of getting octa-core processor in a small palm-sized devices like mobile phones. So those processors have the capability of doing some computations, whatever computations you need. Those will be performed and they will be given and they will give the results, right? That's the So if you want to make a smart object, it should have some computational capability. And again, remember that this computational capability is not a mandatory thing. It's an optional thing. So if you want to make a smart object, it's not necessary that it should have the computational capability. It may or may not have the computational capability. And the third characteristic is very, very important characteristic. That is nothing but the communication. So if you want to make a smart object, that smart object should communicate with each other, which is present in the network, right? So this is the main purpose of the internet. Why we connect different devices in the internet is in order to share some information, in order to make communication between the devices. We make use of this internet, right? So if this property is not satisfied by an object, what is the need of putting an object inside an internet? So there is absolutely no use of putting it into the internet if you are not able to share your information, if you are not able to share your content, right? So this particular communication capability is a mandatory characteristic in order to make an object a smart object. You can neglect computation, you can neglect sensing capability, you can neglect actuation capability, but communication is a mandatory thing that should possess by a smart object. Similarly, the last two characteristic is sensing capability and actuating capability, right? Sensing means it will have the IoT network, the devices, the smart objects will have some type of sensor devices, which are able to read the physical elements around in its environment, and that is called as sensing capability, right? It can be able to sense the temperature in the room. It can be able to sense the pressure inside the room. It is able to sense the moisture under the soil. All these are read. All these are physical elements that are read by using some devices called as sensors. So that is called as sensing capability. And the last characteristic is actuating. Actuating means based upon the sensed values. For example, if you take an air conditioning unit, so if you have set the room temperature as 26, So after the room temperature has reached 26, what the air conditioning unit will do is it will automatically turn off the compressor. So whenever the temperature is below a threshold value 26 degrees centigrade, then it automatically activates it activates one process such that it will cut off the power to the compressor. So this is nothing but the actuation. So in order to make an object as a smart object, all these 5 characteristics, not necessarily all these things, some of the things are optional, like computation is an optional thing. Some IoT devices may not have the computation capability, and some IoT devices may not have the sensing capability, and some IoT device may not have the actuating capability. But the 2 important characteristics are identifiability and communication, right? So any smart object, you put it in the Internet of Things, it should be identifiable. And I told that the identifiability can be achieved by giving an IP address, IPv6 address to those objects. And similarly, communication is very important. So whatever information that is read, it should be shared with the networks, right? It should be shared with the other devices. That is the purpose of this communication. So this is, let me give a simple example in our daily life, which we make use of this in our daily life. Here I'm going to discuss the differences between the basic phone versus the smartphone. So in the basic phone, you are able to make a call, you are able to receive a call. Similarly, you can send SMS, you can receive SMS, and very basic gaming facilities will be provided in the basic phone. But if you consider a smartphone, it consists of, it has all the characteristics which we have discussed in the earlier slide, right? For example, if you take a smartphone, I told that it should have the identifiability capability. So whenever you connect your smartphone to the internet automatically provides an IP address. Therefore, it can be, that means the mobile phone which you are using is identifiable over the internet. So it satisfies the first property, which is nothing but the identifiability. The second property is computation. So you have a lot of mobile phones that are coming into the world, like octa-core processor, quad-core processor, dual-core processor. So these mobile phones are also capable of performing some computations based upon the need of the user. Similarly, in the third point, it should provide communication, right? The basic need of this mobile phone itself is providing communication. So it is also satisfying the third characteristic. And coming to the fourth characteristic, which is nothing but sensibility, right? So if you observe your mobile phone, whenever you dial your friend, and if you put your phone near to your ear, then the screen automatically turns off the light. The reason behind it is the mobile phone is equipped with a proximity sensor. So when proximity sensor means whenever an obstacle comes closer to that particular sensor, it will do a particular action. That is called as proximity sensor, right? Turning off the screen is an actuation. Therefore, this particular smartphone provides the sensibility. That means it can able to read some values based upon the sensors, and based upon those sensor values, it can actuate. The example which I have discussed is proximity sensor. Whenever an obstacle comes near to that proximity sensor, it will automatically turn off the screen. That is nothing but the actuating. So all these 5 characteristics are supported by the smartphones which we are using in our daily life. That's the reason why the phones now, in today's era, we call it as the smartphones, right? So I think I'm clear about these smart objects and the characteristics of these objects and an example, right? Coming to the next part, let me have some discussion on the people behind this IoT, who are responsible for this IoT. It's nothing but the history of IoT, right? So as I told that in the earlier discussion, I told that from 2012 to now, from 2012 to now, I am saying that the internet era is called as Internet of Things. But IoT is not a new term. IoT is not a new term. It was a 21 years old term where the particular term Internet of Things was coined by Kevin Ashton in 1999 itself. So it's almost 21 years old term, and you can see the picture of Kevin Ashton in the slide. So he's not the father of Internet of Things. You can observe the difference between the terminology. He has not invented a new technology. The Kevin Ashton is not responsible for implementing a new technology. What he did is, initially we have a communication technology like M2M communication. M2M means machine to machine communication. That is, one machine communicating with another machine is there in early 1970s itself. But what this Kevin Ashton has done is, he has taken the technology, that means M2M technology, he has taken, RFID technology he has taken, and he has given a new name to that particular technology, which he called it as Internet of Things, right? So it's something like world wine in a new bottle, right? He has taken the world technology, but he has given a new name, right? That's what he has done. And the reason for introducing this thing is Kevin Ashton, in 1999, he used to work for Procter and Gamble. We used to have some advertisements on P&G, right? So this particular person, Kevin Ashton, is a supply chain he is a supply chain manager in Procter and Gamble company. And in 1999, he wants to attract the senior management's attention to the new existing technology. You can observe here that he wants to attract the senior management's attention to a new existing technology called RFID. So RFID is a technology which is already existing, but at that particular point, RFID, he used this RFID, and in 1999, the internet was the hottest new trend. So what he did is, he combined both this RFID technology with the internet, and he presented it to the management team with a new term called as Internet of Things, right? So it's a world technology, but a new name, that's it. Even though Kevin grabbed interest of some of the P&G executives, the term Internet of Things did not get widespread attention for the next 10 years. So in 1999, he's successful in gaining the attention of these executives. But from then onwards, there is no widespread attention for this IoT, right? So here comes again the growth of IoT. Who is responsible for the growth of IoT? Here are the discussions of why this IoT has become so popular in the recent trends or in the recent years. What is the reason behind it, right? So in this context, I want to ask a question that how can a person, or how can a particular product, or how can a particular technology become very popular? Who is behind this popularity of a person or a product or a technology? Some people, they will say that the hard work of the person is the reason behind it, but it's not true. The reason behind the popularity of any product, or the popularity of any person, or the popularity of any technology is the mass media. It is true. Why? Because if you take our real-time examples, the celebrities like the cinema actors, they will have a lot of fan following, but that fan following will be exposed by the mass multimedia systems like mass communications. Mass communication is nothing but print and electronic media. So you get a lot of articles on the celebrities that these people are having those much of fan following, like that. So everything you want to popularize, everything you want to popularize it, that can be done, and that is possible only with the mass media. So you don't forget about these local newspapers and national newspapers. In the technological world, if a technology wants to gain its attention, if a technology wants to rule the world, then that is possible in terms of conferences. I'm talking about the technology. So technology to become popular, they should have some conferences, they should have some paper publications, and they should be focused in technical magazines, famous technical magazines. This is what happened for the IoT. As I told that Kevin Ashton has coined this particular term in 1999, but after 10 years, that is in 2010, IoT started to gain some popularity in the summer of 2010, right? So in the same year, the Chinese government, they want to introduce this Internet of Things as a strategic priority in their 5-year plans. Similarly, in 2011, this is very important year for this Internet of Things. In 2011, the Gartner, we need to know about this Gartner. Gartner is a market research company that invented the famous hype cycle for emerging technologies. And this hype cycle for emerging technologies included a new emerging phenomena called into their list, which is called as Internet of Things. So at this particular point, I just want to give a brief discussion on what this Gartner hype cycle is. It is very important for the technologists, right? And it is very important for the students or the faculty members who wants to have some idea on the recent technologies. So if anybody wants to know what is the recent technology that is going to rule the world for the next 2 or 5 years, or for the next 5 years, or for the next 10 years, then there is no need to ask anybody. There's no need to ask anybody. You can directly go into the browse the internet and you can Google it like Gartner hype cycle 2020 or Gartner hype cycle 2011, Gartner hype cycle 2019. So this Gartner will be releasing every year. They will be releasing a hype cycle which looks like a sine wave. So on this sine wave, we have different elements, different shaped elements like circle shaped elements and triangle shaped elements, and one element represents one technology. So it will have different color codes. For example, white colored circle is a technology that lasts for only 2 years. Similarly, a circle with light blue color is a technology that lasts for 2 to 5 years. So similarly, the circle with dark blue color, it lasts for 5 to 10 years. Like that, it will specify the span. So you can simply look at that particular hype cycle, Gartner hype cycle, and you can check yourself what are the technologies that are going to exist for the next 10 years. So if a student is coming out of his graduation, he can simply check the Gartner hype cycle and he can excel it so that he can put a very good career path for him. So this is what I want to discuss in Gartner, about Gartner hype cycle. In 2011, the Gartner hype cycle has introduced this Internet of Things into their list. So that become very popular. And in 2012, the Europe's biggest internet conference, which is called as LiveWeb, the theme itself is the Internet of Things, right? So here it became very, very popular. That's the reason why the 2012 is the starting year of Internet of Things, even though it was coined in 1999. After in 2012 only it gained its importance. And in the same year, you can observe that popular tech magazines like Forbes, Fast Company, Wired, all these tech magazines, they started using this IoT in their vocabulary. So whenever this IoT vocabulary is used by the world's famous tech magazines like Forbes, all the technology people, they turn their attention towards this. So they turn their attention towards this Internet of Things. Similarly, in 2013, there's a company called IDC, which is called as International Data Corporation. And they published a report stating that Internet of Things would be an $8.9 trillion market in 2020. So this is where the fate of IoT has changed. All the companies, they turned towards this IoT. The main advantage of these companies or technological companies is that these people, the company people, they will grab the market in the first hand itself. That means they will simply take the technology that is going to rule the world, where there is most revenue is being generated. They take the technology and they will try doing the R&D section there, right? So in 2014, what happened is the Consumer Electronics Show at Las Vegas. The theme of that particular Consumer Electronics Show itself is a IoT. So this is how the popularity of IoT has been increased year by year. And right now we have a lot of startup companies that are working on this Internet of Things. I know a few companies who started 1 or 2 years back, and they are really excelling in the field of IoT. They are doing a lot of R&D in the field of IoT. They are developing new protocols like LoRaWAN, etc. All these things are being done by these IoT startups, right? And coming to the related terms of IoT, sometimes you may be hearing these terms, they are almost related to IoT also, right? For example, Internet of Everything. So there is a relationship between Internet of Things and Internet of Everything, right? So if you say the Internet of Things, in general, we will specify that we will specify the non-living things. We connect the non-living things to the internet. But if you consider this Internet of Everything, you consider both the living things as well as the non-living things, and you make those living and non-living things connected to the internet. That is called as Internet of Everything. Everything you can add it to the internet, everything you can connect it to the internet, right? So the Internet of Everything is having a big scope compared to that of the IoT. Similarly, M2M communication, this is machine to machine communication. This is a age-old technology where you will hear this term in telecom sectors, right? This is also related to IoT. And similarly, Web of Things. We know web technologies such as HTML 5.0, JavaScript, Ajax, PHP, REST APIs, all these things are related to web technologies, right? So what this Web of Things is nothing but they make use of these web technologies in the application layer, whereas the underlying internet layer is same that of the IoT. So it's a combination of web technologies and IoT. That's the reason why it is called as Web of Things. Here we have the scope of Web of Things is smaller when compared to that of the IoT, right? Similarly, the next term is Industry 4.0. Here it is called similar to that of communication generations, similar to that of internet generations. We have the generations in the industry also. Right now we are in the era of Industry 4.0, right? Starting from Industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 and 4.0. Right now we are in the era of 4.0. So Industry 4.0 describes a set of concepts to drive the next industrial revolution, which includes all kinds of connectivity concepts in the industrial context only. So you connect various devices, various machines that are present in the industry. That is called as Industry 4.0. And similarly, industrial IoT. This is very important area where a lot of research is going on. It is called as IIoT, industrial IoT, right? So this particular term is pushed by the General Electricals. GE is the company behind this industrial IoT, and it goes beyond the M2M. It not only connects the device or machine to machine, it not only focuses on connection between machines, it also focuses on human interfaces also. So all these terms are almost related to IoT. So when you hear about Internet of Everything, you can observe, you can now say that it is related term to IoT. If you hear about Industry 4.0, you can say that it is a term related to IoT. Web of Things, term related to IoT. M2M communication, it is where the IoT has been derived. Industrial IoT, it is also the term related to IoT. So these are all the general related terms of IoT. And coming to the advantages of IoT, these are the different advantages which I have described in my slide. That is information, tracking and monitoring, time, money, communication, automation and control, better quality of life. These are the advantages I have listed, but there are so many advantages of IoT. We cannot, they are not limited, they are unlimited advantages of IoT. Let us have this detailed discussion on this advantages of IoT. So coming to the first advantage, I'm quoting it as the information. As you know that the physical assets are not the real assets in today's world. Movable properties, immobile properties are the materialistic assets, but data and information is the real asset for a technology geek. So if you want to be a technology geek, you should have all the data, you should have the large amount of data. That is the reason why you can observe that Google is the market leader in the technology world. Why? Because Google always, it pokes upon the data that is related to the entire physical world. For example, you have Facebook, where you take a selfie and post it in the Facebook. So you are posting it to the servers of the Google, and you WhatsApp, whatever you are convenient, you just post the message to the friend. That is nothing but you are storing it in the server. So Google is having a lot of database. Even there are some cases against Google saying that Google is proxying on the and it is compromising, the Google is compromising the security of the normal people. So let's leave that particular point. And this information, as I told, that the IoT network is not a small network. It is a very big network which consists of huge number of devices, huge diverse variety of devices. So from all those devices, we get a lot of information, and this information will be stored in a cloud server, and you can perform a good analysis on this information so that you can come to or you can make a right decision. So predictive analysis is a very very good term, where you analyze the information that is present with you and you have to predict what is going to happen in the next minute, right? So for making right decisions, a lot of amount of information is required, and that is possible, huge amount of information is possible only through the IoT, right? And coming to the next advantage, tracking and monitoring. So the IoT technology automatically tracks, automatically monitors the environment, and there is no need for the human intervention also. At this point, let me give two good examples of how it is going to track and how it is going to monitor the environment, right? For example, if you take a smart refrigerator, what it can do is it is capable of identifying the level of milk that is present inside the refrigerator, right? So for example, assume that the milk level has reduced to below 2 liters. Then what it will do is the smart refrigerator automatically actuates a messaging thing, and it will push the message to the owner saying that your milk is going to run out and you have to bring some X liters of milk, right? That, right? So like that, it will push some message to the owner, and the owner, while returning from his office, he will directly go to the supermarket and he will bring the required quantity of milk, and then he will fill it in the what is this thing called? A smart refrigerator. And the smart refrigerator is also having the capability of reading the labels so that it can come to know that what is the expiry date of a particular food product. For example, it is going to for example, a particular food product is going to expire by tomorrow, so it will give an alert message to the user or to the owner saying that this particular product is going to expire by tomorrow. So you can save your health also. Like that, we have different things where this IoT can be can do lot of miracles are there. As we explain all these advantages and applications of IoT, it appears as if we are watching a science fiction movie, but all these things are real. All these things have really happened, and they are going to happen in the near future also, right? So you will never run out of anything when you need it in the last moment. All these things, tracking and monitoring, will be taken care by the IoT devices, right? And similarly, you can save a lot of time. The smart refrigerator example which I have given, like whenever the milk level has reduced below this 2 liters of level, then it will automatically push a message to the user, and the owner, while returning from office, he will bring the milk. Thereby he saves a lot of time, and similarly he saves a lot of money. The financial aspect is the best advantage. Optimum utilization of energy and resources can be achieved by adopting this technology. So you can utilize the energy and resources in an optimum fashion. For example, in a normal house, when you enter a living room, you have to personally switch on the light, you have to personally switch on the air conditioning unit, and you have to personally switch on the fan. So after you leave while you are leaving the living room, you have to personally switch off all these things. But if you forget to switch off the lights, fans, and air conditioning unit, you are wasting the energy, you are wasting the resources. So in order to preserve those resources, or in order to preserve the energy and resources in an optimum fashion, what you will do is you implement a smart home, where whenever you enter your living room, the air conditioning unit will be automatically turned on, and the temperature will be set to the preferred level by the which is preferred by the user. Similarly, it will automatically turn on the light. Similarly, if you are leaving that particular living room, it will automatically turn off the light, air conditioning unit. Thereby it saves a lot of energy and resources, right? Similarly, communication. So physical devices are able to stay connected during this while using this IoT technology. Hence, there is a total transparency in using this IoT technology with less inefficiencies, since they are computers. There's no way of getting the inefficiency. So you have lesser inefficiencies with greater quality of life, right? Similarly, the another advantage of IoT is automation. So you are hearing this particular term like industrial automation every now and then, but this automation is not a new term. It's a old term, but it has added some flavors by use of this particular technology called as IoT. What is that flavor? What is that flavor that is added to the automation, right? Here, physical objects, they are getting connected and they are controlled digitally. This is where the difference between the old automation and the new automation with the IoT technology is there. You are able to control it digitally and centrally with wireless infrastructure. This is also possible. So you can sit somewhere around in Kakinada and you can switch on a light or a fan or a conditioning unit somewhere around in Visakhapatnam. This is how it happens with the IoT. It's all possible with IoT only. So, and it is also possible that there is no human intervention in communication of these devices. Automatically they will communicate, right? Similarly, the last advantage of the IoT is the better quality of life. you will get, obviously you will get the better quality of life. For example, you take smart refrigerator. Another example is smart printer. A smart printer, what it will do is it will automatically track and monitor the ink levels of the cartridge, and whenever it is running out, it will automatically order a new cartridge, thereby reducing the burden of the owner, right? So all these examples, smart refrigerator, smart printer, all these things, what they will do is they will increase the comfort of the user, they will increase the convenience of the user, they are used for better management of life activities. So this is what is possible with the IoT. It's not limited to these particular 7 points. There are many advantages, but these are the important things that I want to discuss. And coming to the disadvantages, let's have some discussion on the flip side of this IoT also, right? Compatibility is a very big disadvantage of IoT. As I told, that IoT network is a very complex network which consists of devices that are manufactured by different manufacturers. So compatibility issue, one device from one manufacturer, another device from another manufacturer, when you combine and you want them to communicate with each other, there may be compatibility issues. So the disadvantage of IoT is, till now there is no standard for dealing with this compatibility or interoperability issue. If there are standards, the interoperability will be there, but there are no standard definitions, or there are no standards defined for interoperability. So that is the big disadvantage of this IoT. And coming to the complexity, as I told, that an IoT is a diverse and complex network. So whenever there is a complex network is there, there is a high probability that failure of these complex systems may occur. For example, if you take the same smart refrigerator, assume that the message of milk running out is given to both wife and husband. Assume that it has thrown 2 messages to both the wife and the husband. So both wife and husband, they will go to the supermarket and they will bring the milk, and it is a wastage of a resource. Similarly, if you take the smart printer example, which I have discussed earlier, assume that there is a bug in the software, and that software, what it is doing is it is ordering the cartridges multiple number of times. So that is a bug. So the complexity, if you increase the complexity of the network, then the probability of the failure of the complex systems is even more, right? So coming to the privacy and security, and remember that this is a very important point or very important concept in any area. You take it for granted. In any area, this privacy and security is a very big research area. For example, if you take cloud computing, privacy in cloud computing, security in cloud computing, very big research area. Lot of research is going on there. Similarly, if you take wireless sensor networks, the privacy and security in wireless sensor networks is again a big research area. VANets, vehicular ad hoc networks, the privacy and security in VANets is a very big research area. So if you want to go for a research or PhD area, so simply you can blindly go for the security. That security, you provide it for cloud, it will be a research. Security provided for wireless sensor networks, it will be a research. So disadvantage of IoT is the security is still in the inception stage, right? Why the security is in the inception stage is all these security issues that are related, all the protocols that are related to the internet, what we use for the original OSA model or TCP IP model, are not suitable for the IoT environment. You need to design the new protocols for this IoT environment, and providing security and providing encryption for the data that is present in the IoT environment is a very good research area, and it is always open for the research. So I think the next expert, Dr. A.S.N. Chakravarti Garu, Professor of JNTU Vijayanagaram, is going to deal with this particular concepts. So coming to the safety, this is also a term which is almost related to the security aspects itself. So what happens here is your personal information may be compromised. A hacker may hack your laptop. Why? Because if you connect anything to the internet, if you connect anything to the internet, then automatically there is a high probability that hackers may hack your system, right? The financial information may be taken away by the hackers, or the prescription may be changed. For example, if a doctor makes a prescription, then that prescription may be changed by the hacker, which results in health disasters also, or your account details may be hacked. So there is high risks involved in this IoT environment. So this privacy, security, safety, all these things are a big research areas in the IoT area. And coming to the next disadvantage, lesser employment of menial staff. The thing here you have to remember is by the introduction of IoT, we have a lot of job opportunities. This is true, but there is a job opportunity for a technology person. So if you are familiar with the IoT technologies, if you are familiar with the protocols of the IoT, then you are ready for the IoT job market. But what happens here is the flip side is that it decreases the employment of the menial staff. Menial staff means the unskilled workers and the helpers. They'll be losing their jobs because of this automation coming into the existence. So this is a big disadvantage, and it will have a lot of social impact also. And coming to the last and very important disadvantage of this IoT, that technology takes control of life. Right now, the younger generation is already addicted to the technology for every little things. For every little thing, they use it to depend on the technology. This is a very big disaster for the human life existence also, right? So what we need to be very careful is we should take the control of the technology, and we should not go into the hands of the technology. So if you go into the hands of the technology, and if you make the technology take the control of the life, then it will be a very big disaster. So, right? So we have to decide how much of our daily lives is to be mechanized and controlled by the technology. So my request is not never ever make the technology take control of the life. This is very important thing, right? Even though it provides a lot of convenience, lot of comfort, and management is there, it provides better lifestyles. New paradigms of lifestyles may be introduced by the technology. Your life is a very comfortable life, but never ever become a slave for the technology. This is what I want to stress on it, right? And coming to the applications of IoT, here we have very simple applications of IoT. The smart refrigerator, I have discussed earlier that it is capable of tracking the milk levels. It is capable of monitoring the expiry dates of the food products, all these things, and they can give the automatic messages, or they can give the orders automatically to the supermarket owner. So all these things can be handled by the smart refrigerator. Coming to the smart alarm, if you set your alarm to at 6:30 a.m. and it rings at 6:30, and whenever you press a button to stop the alarm, then what it will do is it can automatically send a message to the geyser, water heater, saying that you please start your activity heating the water, and you please keep the water warm at 29 degrees centigrade or 32 degrees centigrade. So that can be done. Similarly, it can also send a message to the coffee maker to brew the coffee and make it ready while the owner is ready within 30 minutes, next 30 minutes. So this is all possible with this IoT itself, right? Similarly, smartphones, you can operate. There are a lot of apps that are available in the Play Store where you can download it, and the smartphones, while you start from your office, you can open that home automation app and you can switch on the air conditioning unit, and you can set a particular temperature based upon your preference before you start from the office itself. Similarly, you can also turn on your TV with your favorite channel, music channel, playing your favorite music. All this is possible because of the smartphone and the IoT technology. Similarly, the smart calendars, you can make use of online calendars to buy a particular product on a regular basis. For example, if you want to make an insurance on August 15th of every year, there's no need to remember. You can simply put a reminder in the online calendar, and that online calendar, the smart calendar, can automatically renew your insurance on behalf of the owner. This is possible only with the IoT. And coming to the complex applications of IoT, right? We have these complex applications like smart cities. This is also a buzzword we are hearing everywhere right now. Smart city, even Kakinada is a smart city, Tirupati is a smart city. So smart city means, what do you mean by smart city? Everything is smart. Everything means, let me give some examples. The IoT is being used in the smart cities. The underlying technology behind the smart cities is the IoT only, right? So what it provides in smart cities, we can monitor the vibrations of buildings. We can monitor the vibrations of bridges. And if there are any monuments that are present in the city, we can monitor the vibrations of those monuments also, right? Similarly, noise pollution can be controlled by making use of different devices in and around the hospitals and schools. You can manage traffic during traffic jams, peak hours, accidents, and rains. So traffic management is also possible. Noise pollution reduction is also possible. You can manage the street lights. You can automatically turn on the street lights. You can automatically turn off the street lights. No human intervention is needed for these smart cities, right? Similarly, you can also dustbin management. You can also alert the officials to empty the trash bins when it is filled. All these things are possible. For example, what I told is noise pollution controlling is possible, managing traffic is possible, managing street lights, managing dustbins. Everything is possible in smart cities because of the underlying technology, which is nothing but the IoT, right? And coming to the home automation, that we have explained in the previous example, that you can remotely control and program all the appliances in your home. Whatever appliance is there, you can control the air conditioning unit, you can control the geyser, you can control the heater, whatever you want to control. You can control the TV, whatever you want to control, you can control by making use of this IoT in a remote fashion and in a wireless fashion, right? Similarly, industrial automation. Industrial automation is very, very important. And as I told, that this is not a new technology. This is not a new thing. It almost exists from a few decades right from now. And what happens if you go for automation by making use of this IoT technology is, you can automate the manufacturing process, right? Robots will manufacture the products. And similarly, you can prove useful in optimizing the production process. You get very good optimization in the production, and you can manage the inventory and supply chain. All the inventories and supply chains can be managed. And one more thing, important thing in this industrial automation is, you can diagnose the machines, right? You put some sensors and it will regularly check the health of the machines, and it will alert the users that this particular machine is under repair. It needs some maintenance. All these things is possible in the industrial automation, and the underlying technology for this industrial automation is IoT. I once again remember this, IoT is responsible for all the automation process. Home automation, industrial automation, every automation will be done by making use of this IoT only. And one more very good example of this very good application of this IoT is health monitoring. This is very much useful for the senior citizens and disabled people who are living independently. Very, very, very good application, health monitoring system using IoT, right? So if there are any senior citizens and disabled persons, they want to, and they are living independently, they want to track their health parameters like heart rate, pulse, blood pressure. All these things will be monitored and diagnosed for anomalies. The system, the IoT system, is the smart healthcare system is responsible for reading all these values and sending it to the corresponding medical practitioners and getting the prescriptions. All these things is possible, and it is automatically done, right? So and it is also possible to contact the required people are to contact the hospital in times of emergencies. All this is possible because of IoT only, right? And the last application is smart environment, a very important application of IoT, very, very important application. Smart environment means everything is possible. For example, if you take pollution detection is possible with smart environment, that is with IoT. And detection of natural calamities like earthquake, floods, all these things is possible because of IoT. And it is possible to minimize the air pollution. It is possible because of IoT only. And similarly, you can detect the tsunamis, you can detect the earthquakes, earthquake detection, tsunami detection, air pollution, water pollution. Volcanic eruption, yes. Thank you, ma'am. And all these things are possible by this IoT. And similarly, flood detection is also possible. So you can put some sensors across the dams and rivers, and they act something like surveillance activities. And whenever the level of water rises above the threshold value, it will automatically detect and alert the people and alert the officers, concerned officers, right? So the detection of forest fire is also possible with this technology. So you can, there is no area where the IoT cannot enter. This is what I want to tell, right? You have smart cities, air pollution detection, water pollution detection, forest fire detection, flood detection, volcanoes eruption, all these things, industrial automation, home automation, healthcare, everything is possible with IoT. And some more applications are energy management. We have the concept of smart grids, where they will automatically and intelligently manage the energy consumption. Similarly, connected cars. Recently, the Morris Garage, we have gone through this Hector vehicle, MG Hector, right? So the tagline of this MG Hector is Internet Inside. So all this, the car will have a lot of sensors to sense the tire pressure, to sense the temperature inside, and to sense the rain. All these things will be there, and all these are connected to a network. So those are called as connected cars. This is possible because of IoT only. And the next application is IoT in agriculture. A beautiful application which is very useful for the farmers is this IoT in agriculture. Lot of research is being done in this agriculture field. So what happens here is you can put sensors to read the temperature, you can put sensors to read the water levels, you can put sensors to read the moisture of the soil, and you can implement the drones to take pictures of the leaves of that particular crops, and those pictures will be automatically sent to the cloud server. There it will do a lot of analysis, and they will predict what disease is being attacked to the crop. After that, the servers automatically prescribe or automatically send the pesticides names to the farmers, so that the farmer can take minimal risk. So this is all possible because of IoT introduced in the agriculture field. Similarly, smart retail. So whenever you are a customer of some supermarket, when you go beside that supermarket, you may get a message saying that sugar is having 50% discount today, or some X product is having some X amount of discount in the coming next 2 days. So all this is possible because of smart retails, and the underlying technology is IoT, no doubt IoT itself, right? And coming to the wearables, so this is very important for the youth who are very enthusiastic in the IoT field. So you have a lot of wearable devices that are there inside this IoT technology. For example, fitness trackers, smart watch, GPS trackers, music system, Fitbits for smart shoes like Nike, NFC, smart ring, similarly smart band for blinds, smart clothes, all these things. Smart jewelry is also there. Smart jewelry, they look like jewelry, but what they will do is they will monitor the sleep, they will predict the stress levels of the user, and they will remind the breathing exercises. All this is possible because of this IoT only. right? We can make the prototypes or proof of concepts for these wearables or smart retails or IoT in agriculture, health monitoring. Proof of concepts can be done by as an experimental practice for the students, right? And similarly, in the last as a last example, I want to give it as the IoT in poultry and farming, right? So in foreign countries, if you look at the cattle, right, cows or sheep fields, so you'll have some thousands and thousands of cows that are roaming in hundreds and hundreds of acres of field, right? So monitoring each and every cow or sheep in that hundreds of acres is not possible. So in this purpose, what they will do is they will simply put a tag, or they will make that physical, they will make that object as smart. That means the living object, they will put some tag on that cow, where it will continuously monitor the temperature of that cattle or something else, whatever parameters they are they are using. Those parameters will be read and automatically sent to the server. By this, they can make use of this particular IoT technology in farming as well as in poultry, right? So we have seen a lot of examples and applications of this IoT, right? So now is the last part of my discussion where IoT cannot be accommodated. So there is no area where IoT cannot be accommodated. So you take smart home, you take wearables, connected cars, industrial internet, smart cities, IoT in agriculture, health management, healthcare, poultry, farming, energy management, everywhere the IoT exists. So we can say that the IoT, there's no area where IoT cannot be accommodated. So this is the power of IoT, and that's the reason why IoT is becoming very popular nowadays. And so you have to decide whether IoT is a boon or a bane, right? So my perspective is that IoT is a boon. Any technology, you take any technology in this world, it will have its advantages and disadvantages, but the way how we take the technology into our lives is it becomes a boon or a bane, right? So we have the flip sides of IoT, and as well as the pros and cons of IoT has been discussed. But my concept here is an IoT is a beautiful technology that can be that can be accommodated into our lifestyles. So somewhere there's a discussion that IoT is an area where it changes the lifestyle of human beings, right? There is a statement saying that IoT changes the lifestyle, or it brings a new paradigm of lifestyle to our existing lifestyles. So you change the lifestyle, the way you behave, the way you speak to the devices, the way you react to the situations, all these things will change. Therefore, there's a change in the lifestyle with the advent of this IoT technology. So IoT technology is definitely a boon. That's my conclusion, and thank you one and all for this 1 hour 12 minutes of presentation, patiently listening for this 1 hour 12 minutes of presentation. And finally, I would like to say that IoT is a very beautiful area where you can do a lot of research, and where you can implement that IoT technology, or you can inculcate that IoT technology in our daily life, right? So it makes life beautiful, right? Similarly, so that is all about what I want to discuss. And this is my contact number and email ID. You can call me or drop a mail in case of any queries. So this is the end of my discussion. And finally, if